Have you ever felt like something about our history just doesn't quite add up? We're taught a neat, linear story of progress, but what if there are huge gaps, entire chapters ripped out of our collective memory? Today we're diving deep into a theory that, as fascinating as it is unsettling. The idea that a massive global catastrophe occurred around the year 1700. An event so devastating it forced a reset of civilization and a complete rewrite of history. Let's start with a strange and persistent architectural anomaly found all over the world: mud flood buildings. These are magnificent, often classical-style structures, with their ground floors mysteriously buried several feet, sometimes even a full story, below the current street level. You can see them in cities from San Francisco to Saint Petersburg. The official explanation is usually that the city's ground level has risen over time due to construction and development. But does that really make sense? Think about it. These aren't just small basements. We're talking about grand entrances, ornate windows, and beautifully crafted doorways now serving as cellar windows. Why would architects in the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries design and build elaborate ground floors only to immediately bury them? It seems illogical and incredibly expensive. The sheer scale is staggering. Entire cityscapes appear to have been submerged in a sea of mud, leaving us with these strange sunken buildings. This theory suggests that this wasn't a gradual process, but the result of a single cataclysmic event, a massive deluge of mud and water that swept across continents, burying the old world under a thick layer of sediment. This leads us to our next piece of the puzzle, the so-called orphan trains and the sudden appearance of countless foundling hospitals in the 18th and 19th centuries. Following this proposed 1700s catastrophe, historical records show a massive unexplained spike in the number of orphans. All across Europe and America, institutions were overwhelmed with children who had no parents, no history, and no one to claim them. The orphan trains in the United States, which ran from the mid-19th to the early 20th century, transported an estimated 250,000 children from crowded eastern cities to the Midwest. Where did all these children come from? The conventional narrative points to poverty and disease in burgeoning industrial cities. But could it be something more? Proponents of the cataclysm theory argue that these weren't just the children of the poor. They were the survivors of a lost civilization. A generation of children left behind after their parents and their entire world were wiped out. These foundling hospitals and orphanages weren't just charitable institutions. They were a systemic response to a population collapse, a way to gather, re-educate, and assimilate the survivors into a new fabricated timeline. It's a dark thought, but it would explain the sudden, massive scale of the orphan crisis. Then there's the mystery of Tartaria. On many maps printed before the late 17th and early 18th centuries, you'll find a vast empire called the Tartarian Empire or Grand Tartary. It's shown stretching across much of Asia, Siberia, and even parts of Central Asia. This wasn't just a small, insignificant region. It was depicted as one of the largest empires on Earth, filled with magnificent cities and advanced culture. Yet by the 19th century, it's completely gone. It vanishes from maps, and more importantly, it vanishes from our history books. Today, mainstream history dismisses Tartaria as a simple geographical term for a poorly understood region, a label used by Europeans for everything east of the Urals. But the detail on these old maps suggests otherwise. They depict specific cities, borders, and political divisions. Could Tartaria have been a highly advanced global civilization that was the primary victim of this 1700s catastrophe? Perhaps their technology, their architecture, and their culture were what defined the pre-cataclysm world. The theory suggests that the victors, or perhaps the survivors who rebuilt society, deliberately erased Tartaria from the historical record to control the new narrative. The buried mud flood cities, with their grand architecture, might just be the last remaining ruins of this lost empire. The evidence doesn't stop there. Consider the strange uniformity of what's known as star fort architecture. These intricate star-shaped fortifications can be found on every single continent, from Japan to South America, from the Netherlands to South Africa. They are remarkably similar in design, suggesting a shared knowledge of engineering and military strategy on a global scale. Mainstream history attributes these to different European powers during the age of colonization, claiming the design was simply that effective. But what if their purpose was completely different? Some researchers propose these weren't primarily military forts for fighting other humans. What if they were designed as defensive structures against a powerful, natural force? Or even as some kind of energy harnessing device? Their complex geometric patterns and their placement often align with geographical and energetic lines. The idea is that a single unified global culture, perhaps the Tartarians, built these structures worldwide. The cataclysm damaged or destroyed this network, and the subsequent resettlers simply repurposed the surviving forts for their own military needs, obscuring their original function. Let's also look at the timeline itself. The 18th century feels like a period of immense and impossibly rapid change. Suddenly, we have revolutions, industrial explosions, and massive leaps in science and technology. It's as if humanity got a sudden reboot. The cataclysm theory posits that this wasn't organic growth. Instead, it was the rediscovery and implementation of technology and knowledge from the previous, more advanced civilization. Think about it. If a global catastrophe wiped out most of the population and infrastructure, the survivors would be left with the ruins of a highly advanced world. It would be a scramble to figure out how everything worked. This could explain the seemingly miraculous inventions of the Industrial Revolution. Perhaps they weren't inventions at all, but rediscoveries. We also see strange inconsistencies in art and photography from the 19th century. We find photos of magnificent, monumental buildings in seemingly empty cities. Grand boulevards, intricate government buildings, and sprawling exhibition halls with hardly a soul in sight. The official story is that these were newly built. But look at the scale. Does it make sense that a sparse horse and buggy population could construct such massive, ornate structures? The theory offers an alternative. These cities weren't newly built. They were the empty, cleaned-up remnants of the pre-cataclysm world. The few people seen in the photos are the inheritors, the resettlers, exploring and repopulating a world that was not their own. So, let's try to piece this all together. Sometime around the year 1700, a cataclysmic event, possibly a great flood of mud and water, or maybe even an atmospheric or cosmic event, devastates a technologically advanced global civilization. Let's call it Tartaria. This event buries their cities, destroys their infrastructure, and wipes out a huge percentage of the population. The survivors are scattered and traumatized. A small, organized group, perhaps a powerful elite that weathered the storm in a protected location, emerges to take control. They gather the orphan children, the blank slates of the new world, and begin a systematic process of re-education. They erase the previous civilization from the history books, relabeling their maps and renaming their cities. They claim the magnificent, half-buried buildings as their own creations, attributing them to a fabricated history of recent construction. The scientific and technological knowledge of the old world is slowly reverse-engineered and rebranded as new inventions, sparking the Industrial Revolution and creating the illusion of linear progress. A new timeline is crafted, a new history is written, and within a few generations the memory of the old world is almost completely gone, surviving only as myth legend and the strange, unexplained anomalies we still see around us today. Now, I know this sounds like science fiction. It's a massive conspiracy theory that challenges the very foundation of everything we've been taught. And it's crucial to approach this with a healthy dose of skepticism. Historians and archaeologists have conventional explanations for all of these phenomena rising ground levels, the social impacts of industrialization, the evolution of cartography. But the purpose of exploring this theory isn't necessarily to prove it's 100% true, it's to encourage us to ask questions. To look at the world around us with fresh eyes, and not just blindly accept the standard narrative. When the official explanation doesn't quite seem to fit the evidence, maybe it's time to consider that there's more to the story. The buried buildings, the orphan crisis, the lost empire of Tartaria, the global network of star forts taken individually, they can be explained away. But when you look at them all together, they paint a compelling, alternative picture of our past. A past that might be far stranger, more tragic, and more mysterious than we could ever imagine. What do you think? Is there a lost chapter in human history? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey down the rabbit hole, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content that challenges the official story. See you next time.